Environmental advocates in Nigeria have tasked religious leaders to leverage their faith to mobilize citizens towards effective climate action. This was during a session with religious leaders and climate change advocates in the nation's capital, Abuja. Ebua Uye reports.
Africa's leading civil society organization, Connected Development, has met with multiple stakeholders as part of an interfaith dialogue on climate change and environmental stewardship in Nigeria. They say they have continued to engage several communities facing environmental challenges caused by climate change.
We know that climate change has deeply affected Nigeria, from insecurity, food shortage, loss of job, loss of livelihood, even to insecurity. And we believe that as the date draws closer to the United Nations Climate Change Conference, it's important that we leverage on the Faith Pavilion, which aimed at that time, among other things, to encourage faith-based organizations to engage with their country delegates and increase their capacity to advocate for human and natural-centered negotiated outcome. That was at COP28 and beyond. There are evidence which suggests that knowledge gap in faith-based organizations in understanding climate sciences, the policies and implications for climate change significantly. And this has limited the potential of faith as an effective communication strategy for behavioral change as well as the drive on climate action. Community knowledge gap can be reduced with faith-based communities, leveraging on the existing knowledge about physical and environmental challenges, as well as the genuine recognition of risk associated with the decline in the source of livelihood across Nigeria.
With frontline communities in different states, we went to those communities, and I tell you that it was a sad situation. Reptiles were living in the houses of some of the people there. People lost their relatives as a result of crossing over to, one place or the other. Fences were brought down, that heightened insecurity in schools, and we saw how that affected education in those respective states, as well as erosion, taking down houses that were built for a long time in Akwa Ibom State. And what we did at Connected Development was to build the capacity of the media and the community-based organizations to form a coalition, to come together and use our transparency and accountability model, follow the money, to be able to track some of the resources that come into their states, tracking the likes of ecological funds, ensuring that those resources are being utilized, for the appropriate usages, to ensure that women and girls were prioritized when it comes to fighting for climate change and climate justice.
The executive director of the Connected Development, Amzat Lawa, expressed worry, saying over $100 billion have been pledged to the nation's ecological fund, expected to solve climate change challenges, but have not been redeemed.
We've not gotten money from most of the pledges that have been made. Over $100 billion was made after the Paris Agreement. But a lot of these countries have not remitted these pledges. But I think we need to also source our funds locally. And what do I mean? Yes, we know that the Ecological Fund enjoys 2% of all the sales of crude oil. And this money is supposed to be distributed to the states to ensure that they're able to mitigate against the effect of climate change. But the sad reality is that Ecological Fund seems to be a pipeline where government officials siphon public resources. We must demand for accountability, but most importantly, we must leverage on local knowledge.
The advocates say the findings of their research, which has been made available, will provide credible information aimed at strengthening a joint approach to tackling climate change challenges in communities.
We've undertaken a research study, and this research study has been launched into a policy brief for government, faith-based organizations, and various institutions for us to all come together and not work in silos. The president has appointed Chief Ajuri Ngelale to coordinate climate action. I think this evidence base will set a tone for him in engaging not only civil society, but most importantly, faith-based organizations and various faith-based institutions, because you cannot leave them behind. They're a powerful voice that we must leverage on, particularly in the context of Nigeria.
Ebua Uyi, reporting for Development Nigeria Television.